In today's video, I'm excited to introduce a new company to the channel, Immix Biopharma Inc. And this stock is on the Nasdaq under IMMX. What's interesting about this one is that it's had a pretty good day. It's up by 4.5%. And in the last 6 months, it's nearly doubled. Looking at year to date, it's done really well, 88.64%. So what is happening here? Because investors are voting and saying that the company is worth roughly twice as much as it was this time last year. If we look at the chart, here I'm looking at the 1 day, it's done a really nice job to recover as well, below the moving averages. But since then, we had volume. And remember, volume usually precedes price. That was excellent. We got a golden cross. Golden cross means momentum or golden momentum. The short-term price or the 50 MA is crossing over the long-term price or the 200 MA. So back below, it got over the 50, it bounced, it came back down and bounced off the golden cross, and that was a really nice area right here with that volume. And then after that, it formed a higher low, came back down to the 200, second, third time, and then since then, only one more back test here. Pop, flag, pop, flag, pop. It's looking pretty good. And there's volume here as well, so the story is continuing. So what exactly does this company do? I'm not an expert on the subject, but I am interested to find out more about it. So if we go here, let's go back to their first slide. Let's just refresh the page here. So what do? It's a new hope for relapse or refractory amyloidosis. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I apologize. And I was curious what this was. So we'll get to that in 2 seconds here. But first, we want to understand what the company's done so far this year. They've been pretty busy. They got a lot of news. They have news in November, 1, 2, in October, they got 1, 2, 3. In September, they have another one. So the company's been pretty busy. And because they are an early stage biopharma company, they're basically doing clinical trials. And it looks like the results are pretty good. I say that because, again, like I said, the investors are voting and they like what they see. So if we have some time later in the show, we'll come back and look at these. But what I really want to know is what does this company do? They are driving the next level of medical breakthroughs with cutting-edge research and transformative technologies in AL, amyloidosis, and other serious diseases. So I wanted to find out what this was. So I went to Google, I typed it in, and I said, what is amyloidosis? And what it tells me here is that it is a rare but serious disease where a bone marrow disorder causes plasma cells to produce abnormal light chain proteins. What can happen? Fatigue and weakness, swelling, especially in the legs, ankles, and feet, shortness of breath in the chest, numbness and tingling, including arms and legs, easy bruising, particularly around the eyes. We can see that right here. So if we look to the other image, we can see that this one here, we can go to the Mayo Clinic and they show us some of the symptoms here. That doesn't look very nice. Either the tongue either. Ugh. So it's a rare but very serious disease. And if we have a look here, it affects the nervous system. So these misfolded proteins accumulate in tissues and organs like the heart, kidney, and nerves, causing organ damage and a wide range of symptoms. Symptoms can include fatigue, swelling in the legs and ankles, shortness of breath, and tingling in the arms and legs. So this is not good. And bone marrow is something that, again, I'm not an expert at, but I know it's serious. Your bones are everywhere, and your organs are also quite serious. So if they have something here, this is pretty good because I'm sure the people suffering would like to have some relief. The significance of cell therapy, harnessing advanced sterically-optimized CAR-T technology with a digital filter to develop precise, powerful treatments for targeting AL, amyloidosis, and other serious diseases. Our approach is unique, introducing NXC-201, a breakthrough in AL amyloidosis treatments, offering the first of its kind one-time CAR-T therapy. Clinical trials currently underway, advancing groundbreaking clinical trials to explore new frontiers in AL, amyloidosis, and other serious disease treatments. So that's it. It's a very serious disease. They're an early stage company, and here's what they do. They're leading the charge in AL, amyloidosis, and other serious diseases as trailblazers of innovative cell therapies, reshaping treatment landscapes and patient outcomes. The significance of cell therapy, we just talked about that. Regulatory updates, staying ahead with the latest regulatory developments, ensuring compliance, and paving the way for new treatment approvals. Clinical trials, advancing clinical science through rigorous clinical trials, aiming to uncover new possibilities in AL, amyloidosis, and therapies for other serious diseases. We can see what else they're doing here. So they're trying to give new hope for relapse and refractory AL amyloidosis, which we just mentioned. We can see what they're doing as well. So they're prioritizing patient well-being, support groundbreaking advancements in healthcare, cutting-edge research and transformative technologies, and cell therapy in Trailblazer in AL, amyloidosis, and other serious diseases. So the CAR T therapy, what is this? Because I'm curious. Today, CAR T cell therapies generate greater than $3 billion in annual sales. Okay, that's a pretty big number. If you looked at the company's market cap here, it's $139 million. So that seems pretty good. If we go here to find out more about this, this is from Gabriel Morris, the CFO of Immix Biopharma. So despite impressive research and development progress in CAR T cell therapies, today 95% of U.S. medical centers are unable to dose CAR T cell therapies due to neurotoxicity, and only a narrow band of patients in specific indications are able to benefit from CAR Ts. But it's still a $3 billion market. That's pretty big. Today, CAR T cell therapies generate greater than $3 billion in annual sales, even though due to neurotoxicity and side effects, they're only dosed in only 5% of U.S. hospitals. NXC-201 has been dosed in a large number of patients across released and refractory AL, amyloidosis, and relapse refractory multiple myeloma. We believe NXC-201 could offer hope to those waiting on the lists for CAR T cell therapies and potentially become the first outpatient CAR T expanding into the remaining 95% of U.S. hospitals. If I'm reading this correctly, what I'm seeing is that there's only 5% of the market that's served, but it's currently worth $5 billion. Sorry, $3 billion. So that could roughly go by what? By 20x? So that's a pretty big number. That would be $21 billion. So it looks like the opportunity is pretty big. And they're impacting AL, amyloidosis, and select other tissue diseases. At ImmixBio, we are aiming to become the first company to overcome the greatest obstacle in CAR T adoption, neurotoxicity. In overcoming neurotoxicity, we aim to expand into select and other serious diseases that were not possible in the past. They're starting with amyloidosis in places not possible in the past. The 95% of medical centers today that are not able to use the CAR doses. Okay, industry leader partners. So it looks like they're working with Harvard. That's a pretty good that's a pretty good school. Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, in Stanford Medicine, UC San Diego, in Beijing. All right, so let's dive in a little bit deeper. Invest in the future. Hey, that sounds pretty good. We talked about that they're an early clinical stage biopharmaceutical company, trailblazing therapies. We can probably go through that. They have some recent news. And if you want to go to their website, I'll leave a link for you. And we're going to briefly go through their investor deck right now to find out a little bit more about the company. So, the global leader in relapse or refractory AL amyloidosis. Forward-looking statements. The moment every doctor and family dreads, there's nothing more we can do. That's devastating for most people. In AL amyloidosis, the sentence is delivered to 38,000 U.S. patients. That's a lot. That's 100 people plus a day, if my math is correct. I think it is. It's not good enough to accept the status quo. So here we have the founder and CEO, Ilya Rackman, and that's what he's telling us. I've been the doctor in that room. I've watched hope disappear, and I couldn't accept that months of suffering and subsequent deaths was standard of care. Yeah, I think everyone's had a family member who's had some kind of health scare or worse. So I think everyone can appreciate just how devastating it is, what they said at the onset here, where I'm sorry, there's nothing more we can do. That's a pretty good cause. And I would agree with the doctor here. Where your immune system becomes your killer. Normally, antibodies protect like superheroes. In AL amyloidosis, they go rogue, turning into supervillains that flood organs with toxic light chains. That's not good. Painful and unnecessary months of suffering. That's a healthy organ. That's a not healthy organ. These toxic light chains clog up the hearts, kidneys, and liver. Those are pretty important organs. Breathing becomes difficult. Swelling begins, and even short walks become challenging. That sounds really bad. The current paradigm is failing. Standard of care is just not very good. Only 1 in 12 people actually have remission. 11 out of 12 have death to tissue. Oh, that's bad. The toxic current lasted effort. Only one 4-drug combination exists. 4-drug combination. That doesn't sound good, because there's usually a lot of complications when you mix that many together. So what's their mission? Create medicines that work without destroying the patients. Whoa. We found a breakthrough to change the hopeless sentence. That sounds pretty good. We re-engineered the immune system to fight you again. Fight for you again. Excellent. The science that makes it all possible. I'm not going to pretend like I understand this stuff, but again, I'm going to trust the PhD, who's the doctor and CEO. So they got proprietary tech here. That's the most important part. Proprietary. And it looks like, if I was to read this correctly, they're going into the third clinical stage. So they got stage 1, because I see a green. Stage 2, I see a green. And then stage 3 is going to be a proprietary optimized COBRA binder. Okay. Moving forward here, we can see extraordinary results in clinical trials. 70% complete response. Wow. Current cure looks like it's terrible. It's 0 to 10%. That's a 7 times improvement minimum. What it means for the patient. Life becomes normal again. A deep breath that reaches the bottom of the lungs. A walk that doesn't end at the mailbox. A normal heartbeat again. I think it's pretty safe to say that you don't truly appreciate your health until you're sick or injured. But like we said at the very top, is that if you're told that there's nothing else we can do, that's pretty devastating. I'm sorry, there's nothing more we can do. And this is a multi-billion-dollar market, like we mentioned. So 500,000 per treatment. Whoa. Our unique position to transform this disease, the road ahead. All right, so we can see that we got, planned FDA approval. This will happen into the early part of next year. So early biostage companies are usually driven by their phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and this stock looks like it's no different. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it looks like people are voting on the stock. They're giving it a vote of confidence. There's volume, there's positive price action. That's usually a pretty good sign. So at least as of right now, the market is pretty happy with the results. And we can see that they do have a roadmap ahead. That's really exciting. The road ahead, 50+% enrollment, and then BLA submissions for approval planned for the second or third quarter of 2026. Now they have a commercial road ahead here too. Commercial launch planned for the late part of 2026. 18 high prescribing sites in existing Immix clinical trials. So we can see what they're going to go after here as well. So they're starting with amyloidosis, and they're going to move on to neurology, hematology, rheumatology, and vascular. A world-class team dedicated to saving hundreds of thousands of lives. We got Ilya Rachman, who's the MD, PhD, and Chief Executive Officer. We can see where he's worked before. And I believe when I looked at the news here, they said that they've hired former Chimeric, CMRX, acquired by Jazz for $935 million, is going to be the senior commercial leader. And that looks pretty good. So they've hired somebody, even more people joining the board here. So former Chimeric, CMRX, acquired by Jazz for $935 million. Hey, that's a pretty good number. Senior commercial leader, Michael Grabo, led go-to-market strategy and launch for rare disease therapies for Modeso. I'm sorry, I'm not a doctor. I'm trying my best here. Rare disease commercials veteran, Mr. Gabo, to lead Immix's U.S. launch and commercialize build-out of the NCX-201 in relapsed and refractory AL amyloidosis, a serious rare blood disease with no currently approved FDA therapies. So that looks really good. This company has a pretty stacked team here too. Chief Commercial Officer. He's worked at Spectrum. There's the Chimeric. So there's Michael right there. And Amgen. Okay. We got Bristol Myers, Pfizer. That's for Denise. She's the regulatory advisor. Head of technical development, Bristol Myers. Amgen for head of quality. Gilead, Kite. And over here for chief medical officer, we got Pfizer. We got Drexel. And we got the NHS. Whoa. Yeah, they got a pretty good team here. We on the brink of turning despair into hope. I like the sounds of that. Are there any options left because of Immix? The answer is finally yes. So we talked about all of these things, and let's see what else the company has to tell us here. So excluding the US, it looks like they're going into Israel for the NEXICART-1, normalizing of disease-free light chains for 30 days after dosing. Okay. NEXICART-2, multi-center US CAR-T NXC-201 clinical trials with registration design. Okay. This is in the US. Patient enrollment focused on patients with preserved heart function and at enrollment. Okay. That looks good. Rapid normalization of disease light chains. Yeah, that looks like it happened pretty fast there. That's good. That's exactly what you want to see. And we can see here that their clinical activity is 70% complete response in 7 out of 10 patients. And earlier it told us that it was 0 to 10% of patients who don't have a relapse. So this looks very promising. As we look through here, we can see they got NX2, 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, all the way to 10. So it looks here like there's safety is consistent or improved compared to ex-US dataset. The global leader in relapse or refractory AL amyloidosis. All right. Refractory US patients with no FDA-approved drugs. So they show us exactly what the impacted organs are here, like we showed you at the beginning. And it looks like there's actually some more stuff in here as well. So the bone marrow goes into circulation, it gives you the targeted tissues, and then you get inflamed heart, inflamed kidneys, and inflamed liver, and then your limbs as well, like we read at the beginning. And U.S. relapse refractory patient population, there's a lot of them, 38,000 people per year, it looks like. That's 100 people a day who hear that message, which is just terrible. There's nothing else we can do. And there's not a created equal right now. So that is really good because the addressable market, or the TAM, the total addressable market, is quite large. Low volume diseases and then high volume diseases. So they want to overcome neurotoxicity. And then finally, we can see here that a one-time dosing with durable responses. That sounds pretty good. Challenges to bispecifics and T-cell engagers. What I read at the beginning was just that they're mixing multiple drugs. So if there's X's, that doesn't seem good. And then finally, as we have a look here, their study design, open label, single arm, multi-site phase 1/2 study. So when they go into phase 3 or stage 3, that is usually when they get the really big re-rate on the stock if they have success. And I'm hoping they do because like I mentioned, it's devastating when someone tells you that there's nothing else we can do. So at a very high level, that is Immix Biopharma Inc. If you want to find out more about the company, you can find them under IMMX on the Nasdaq. And then for the audience, please make sure to read the description for full disclosure details, including that this was a sponsored video. And with that said, thank you very much for tuning in. I will see you on the next one.